So what we want to do is we want to follow up on sort of the introductory comments to the concept of ambiguity. And let's look at some examples where it appears to be the case that the concept is what's tested through these logical reasoning examples. So let's start here with prep test 19, section 2, question number 1. Let's say you understood this concept, and then you're looking at this and say, well, is this an example of that concept? Because if it is, the answer choice will have the language to reflect the concept. Okay. So first, again, we're using IRAC in my world, right? So we're starting with the issue, and the issue is here in question number 1, is you're identifying a flaw. Okay. And now I'm going to the rule. The rule's the argument. I'm going to read the argument textually because that's how lawyers read. And here's what I'm going to read. So I know it's flawed. Whatever the conclusion is not going to follow from the evidence. Okay. So here we go. So this is a director of some company saying, our management consultant proposes that we reassign staff so that all employees are doing both what they like to do and what they do well. You stop, it's a period. I get that. I got it. Good job. Next sentence. This, she says, will, and I quote, increase productivity by fully exploiting our available resources, close quote. And I understand what she said. We're going to it's going to more fully exploit our resources to have everybody do what they like to do and what they do well. Next sentence. But Ace Manufacturing has a longstanding commitment not to exploit its workers. So what should jump out at you at that point is that the word exploit is being misunderstood by the parties, but certainly by the responding party here, and which is the director. And then the director goes on to say, therefore, implementing her recommendations, her as the consultant, would cause us to violate our own policy. So the mistake there is a misunderstanding of the word exploit. It's that simple. So now you look at the answer choices. Now that is, we have a pause, right? We're lawyers. We have an issue, we have a rule, we've done the analysis, we pause and we say, well, kind of thinking that's going to the issue of just a misunderstanding of misinterpretation or ambiguity of the word. Where's Aristotle? And answer choice A says that it's a failure to distinguish two distinct senses of a key term. And that's the answer. The key term, of course, is exploit. That's it. There's no reason to read B, C, D, or E. So let's try another example. Let's go to prep test 22. Forgive me as I look over here because I'm on Law Hub, and you must have Law Hub. So if I go over here to prep test 22, and here I'm going to open up to section 2, question number 12. All right. Now, of course, I've culled these, right? So, that's what you want to do. You want to organize the information and turn it into intelligence. Okay. So here is prep test 22, section 2, question number 12. And the issue is, again, it's a flaw. So there's not, there's a problem with the argument. And now I'm going to read the argument textually, and it's going to serve as the rule. And so let me get the conclusion, right? Remind myself that the conclusion is wrong. And let's see what we have here. So we have a music critic. And the critic writes that some people argue, unlike certain works of Handel, which set to music familiar religious texts, the organ symphonies of Vernier are not religious music. So some people argue that Venier's organ symphonies are not religious. Okay. And the conclusion is in the very next sentence, which says quite the contrary. And that's the conclusion because it has to be explained, right? You're saying, so that's not yours. So the author, the music critic, is saying that Venier's music is religious, and that's wrong. So now we say, let me get your reasoning. Why are you telling me Venier's music is religious? And again, here's the critic writing. Sitting in Notre Dame in Paris and hearing his organ symphonies demonstrates, whoops, sorry about that, demonstrates that Venier's works are divinely inspired. Well, again, it's wrong. So you say, well, no, wait a minute. Couldn't divinely inspired suggest that it's spiritual and not religious? Couldn't something be divinely inspired and not be religious music? So again, the problem there is on the word religious. And that's what they disagree about. It's a confusion of of how you use the word religious. And answer choice B is that the flaw here is that it confuses two different meanings of the term religious, and it does. And we'll give you one more example, and this is from PrepTest 22, section 2. So we're actually in the same section. Question number 24. And let's see what we have here. Again, you always start with that issue, so it's flawed, right? So when you're reading the flaw, the conclusion simply doesn't follow from the reasoning. And now I'm going to go to the rule, which is the argument. And it says here, there's some person by the name of Nance who informs me that Ms. Chan said that she retired from Quad Cities Corporation and had received a watch and a wonderful party as thanks for her 40 years of loyal service. Okay, she said she's retired, I got it. But I overheard a colleague of hers say that Ms. Chan will be gone for much of next year on business trips and is now working harder than she ever did before. That does not sound like retirement to me. Oh, you got it now. If you're doing the pause thing, you're saying, well, that the word retirement is being understood two different ways, right? That Ms. Chan saying, I'm not working here any longer. And Mr. Nance, who's hearing it, saying, she said she's going to retire. She's not retired. She's still working. Well, she may be, but not from that company. And then this ends with at least one of them is not telling the truth, which is the argument's conclusion. And that's incorrect. They are both telling the truth from different perceptions of that word. But do you get it? These three examples, I'm going to stop there, but I mean, this is the way the class is going to run. And it's really lifting your game up. So here in this 24, the answer is going to be C. It draws a conclusion based on equivocal language, which requires you to understand what the word equivocal means, but that's the same thing. Equivocation is just, you're not certain of what a word means. And so this is not rocket science. There are plenty more examples of this just in this first volume from PrepTest 19 to 28. There are several more examples. So I suggest this is something you give some thought to, which is prepare from the understand what the principle is and work down from there. So good luck.